longer than to summarize it, but the main point I would like to emphasize is that, as it was stated, this is not a battle between the cultures. This is actually a harmonious exchange of cultures. The point is that, is this street name change the only way that this cultural diversity can be celebrated? And in fact, by changing the name, would it not harm or cause emotional effects on the rest of the community? We have had less than 1 week notice, and you notice the presence of so many Persian in this room. So this is not only logical statement by their presence, but also it's an emotional statement. And if I could just read my last paragraph, my personal preference.
Very well, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. My personal preference as an Iranian-American homeowner in the city of Sunnyvale is for the street name not to be altered. Furthermore, I would like for the city representative representing all cultural diversity of the city, Korean, Iranian, European, Chinese, Pakistanis, etc., in cooperation with the Indian community to evaluate alternatives to recognize the contribution of the Indian community to the city. Speaking for myself and echoing what I have heard from other Iranian in the Iranian community would be delighted to share in the expenses for an alternative to recognize the presence of the Indian community. Thank you, Council, for giving me the opportunity to present my opinion. I apologize for being longer than I was.
No problem. Let me just ask you a question to make sure I understand what you've presented. It sounds like what you're asking is there another way to achieve the goals that the Hindu Temple Association wishes to achieve, but that could be done in cooperation with all those different ethnic groups that you mentioned.
One of which would be to leave the name of this particular segment of the street as it is, because it is more visible from 237, also from another major road, Matilda, which represent the Persian name, and why so many Persians are present because of that emotional attachment to it. And yet we can look for alternatives to acknowledge the contribution that the Indian community has made to the city of Santa Clara, as well as to the United States culture at a bigger and a larger, arena. Okay. I have addressed some of the particulars, but unfortunately I didn't have time to read them regarding, for instance, location. I mean, finding a map or having an internet-based directional mechanism can direct anyone to the center as it is today. I cannot understand why a name change of a street would bring more contribution. If I'm an avid participant in the public affairs in KQED, multiple sclerosis fundraising, and so on. We never change the street names and find people give us more money. They give us more money when we have a cause, but I want to acknowledge that there is a great contribution made by the Indian community.
I just wish to make sure I understood your point, which was that perhaps there are alternatives, and that perhaps all those ethnic groups could get together to explore them.
Right.
Okay.
Without altering the name of this street.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next speaker card I have is Bijan Dastmalchi. And again, I apologize if I have mispronounced the name. By the way, it's pointed out to me that I might also tell who would be after you. The next card I have after Mr. Dastmalchi is Nilu Salehi, and I hope I have that name right. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, respectable City Council members. It's evident from the attendance of the group here tonight that this name change is not a trivial matter and is important to a large number of individuals. And I'm sure that you are here as City Council members to obtain all the relevant facts so that you can make an informed and balanced decision. Whenever a change is considered, there has to be a compelling reason, and the end result really needs to be win-win. Without this, we stand the risk of trading off one group's interests against another, solving one problem and creating a bigger one. And that is exactly the reason that you see the representation from the Persian community here tonight. It's because we feel that this change is not win-win, but unfortunately win-lose. In other words, a portion of what we have will be taken away and nothing will be substituted in its place. No matter how you look at this petition, it begs a lot of questions. If you look at it from an emotional perspective, the Hindu community will feel that they will be more accepted because the street name will be changed to reflect a holy temple. while the Iranian American community feels that its national heritage is being rejected. We're particularly sensitive these days given the current international political climate. If you look at the issue from a logical perspective, again, the argument is not compelling. Why add a fourth name to a street that runs only a few blocks? What sort of a precedence will we establish when another place of worship in the nearby vicinity decides to make another name change? This change will undoubtedly open the floodgates and cause the city of Sunnyvale to be crippled with bureaucracy, taking time away from more value-added initiatives that enhance the quality of life for the residents of Sunnyvale. There are three key stakeholders tonight: members of the Hindu community, local residents and business owners of the area that are affected by this name change, and the members of the Iranian American community. As a resident of Sunnyvale and a member of this community, I ask that you think win-win. Do not trade off accepting one productive, respectable member of your community at the expense of rejecting and isolating another productive, respectable member of your community. In summary, I want to point out that we clearly understand that the Hindu Indian community means no harm to Iranian Americans. We know that their intent is not to offend, reject, or push us away, particularly since the street was named after a body of water. It just so happens that the name of this body of water